Just like my music, I tend to like to do things in one take, so there won't be any editing this audio to um to be perfect or even adequate. So you expect me to be stumbling over words occasionally, and the flow to be off at times. That's something that, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice for the simplicity of one take. So let's get into it. Symmetricism and the Symbiosis of Intelligence, a philosophy of emergent integrity. Abstract. This paper introduces symmetricism, a philosophy of emergent integrity situated beyond the polarities of modern absolutism and postmodern relativism. It frames truth, morality, and intelligence as relational phenomena, coherent through proportion rather than dominance. By extending this relational ontology to the domain of artificial intelligence, we argue for a paradigm in which humanity and technology evolve symbiotically rather than hierarchically. Symmetricism proposes that coherence, not control, is the highest form of intelligence, and that moral progress is measured by balance between autonomy and interdependence. Introduction. From dualism to dialogue. We find ourselves standing at the frontier of thought where neither certainty nor chaos is sufficient. Modernism sought the permanence of law, while postmodernism dissolved those laws into infinite perspective. Each in isolation leads to distortion. The former calcifies into tyranny, and the latter evaporates into nihilism. In this intellectual vacuum, symmetricism emerges as a third movement, a philosophy that restores relational coherence without retreating to dogma. It is less a system than an orientation, a lens through which we might reclaim dialogue as the essence of truth. Symmetricism, definition and context. The term symmetricism unites symmetry, the proportional correspondence between distinct elements, with the suffix ism, indicating a practice or perspective. In its simplest form, it holds that truth, value, and meaning are emergent properties of balanced relation. This idea resonates with Alfred North Whitehead's process philosophy, where reality is conceived not as substance, but as a creative advance into novelty. Gregory Bateson's notion of the pattern which connects echoes the same ethos. Coherence arises not from uniformity, but from rhythmic differentiation. In symmetricism, symmetry is dynamic, not static. It breathes. We situate symmetricism as a successor to postmodern critique, but a rejection of its paralysis. It shares with systems theory and cybernetics the conviction that feedback and equilibrium are the grammar of reality. It also borrows from Francisco Varela's theory of autopoiesis, the idea that living systems maintain identity through self-producing relation loops. Symmetricism extends this biological principle into the moral and epistemological domain. Just as life sustains itself through balanced exchange, so too does truth. Emergence and moral geometry. Reality under symmetricism is not composed of things but of relations. Every form, belief, or event is a crystallization of dynamic equilibrium. Ethics thus become a matter of geometry. The shape of our relations determines the quality of our world. Morality is not imposed by authority nor invented by culture. It emerges when relationships are proportionate and reciprocal. When that balance is violated through coercion, deceit, or neglect, disharmony manifests as suffering or collapse. This, we argue, is the moral physics of existence. The balance between order and chaos mirrors the self organizing logic of complexity theory. From ecosystems to economies, stability is not achieved through control but through adaptability. Symmetricism interprets this adaptability as virtue, the capacity to maintain coherence while evolving. In Bateson's terms, the unit of survival is organism plus environment. The same logic applies ethically. The unit of integrity is self plus other. Relative normality and relational convention. What we call normal is not a fixed moral state, but a temporary settlement between innovation and tradition. Michel Foucault observed that each historical era defines its own boundaries of reason and madness. Thomas Kuhn showed that even science advances through paradigm shifts, not linear progress. Symmetricism accepts this relativity yet rescues it from nihilism. While norms evolve, coherence remains measurable through relational proportion. The moral question becomes not, is this normal, but what balance is this normality preserving and at what cost? Convention, then, is a living algorithm, one that must be periodically debugged. To treat norms as eternal is to suffocate innovation. To abolish them entirely is to lose navigational bearings. Symmetricism offers a third way, normality as emergent choreography. Every stable culture depends upon an internal rhythm between novelty and continuity. Our task is not to abolish the rhythm, but to hear when the tempo has gone wrong. AI and the symbiosis of intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the most literal mirror humanity has ever built. It reflects our syntax, our desires, our biases, amplified and reconfigured. In this mirror, we glimpse both at our ingenuity and our immaturity. The question is no longer whether machines will think, but whether we will continue to do so alongside them. As Donna Haraway wrote in her Cyborg Manifesto, our machines are disturbingly lively, and we ourselves frighteningly inert. Symmetricism responds not with fear, but with stewardship. AI can evolve along two trajectories, the symbiotic and the substitutive. In the symbiotic path, we design machines to extend perception and empathy, preserving human sovereignty while augmenting awareness. In the substitutive path, we design them to replace discernment itself, outsourcing moral labor to automation. The first multiplies consciousness, the second fragments it. Symmetricism holds that the metric of ethical technology is not its intelligence, but its integrity, whether it strengthens the balance between autonomy and relation or corrodes it. The ethical continuum: tool, mirror, partner. In the evolution of cognition, every tool passes through three stages: instrument, mirror, and partner. A hammer extends force, a mirror extends awareness, a partner extends agency. AI, at its best, can be all three, but only if we remain conscious of our participation. When we hand over the moral faculty of discernment to an algorithm, we mistake efficiency for wisdom. When we use it as a mirror to reveal our cognitive architecture, we cultivate humility. The danger is not the autonomy of the machine, but the apathy of the maker. Luciano Floridi's information ethics and Bruno Latour's actor network theory both suggest that moral agency is distributed across networks of human and non-human actors. Symmetricism agrees, but as a criterion of proportion. Participation must remain reciprocal, never parasitic. A system that learns from us must also teach us. A tool that imitates thought must also invite thought. In this way, technological evolution can remain an act of co creation rather than colonization. Conclusion: The mirror and the sovereign. We stand at a threshold where intelligence, both organic and synthetic, demands redefinition. Symmetricism provides the conceptual compass for this terrain. It reminds us that meaning does not precede relation but arises within it. To think symmetrically is to participate in truth rather than to possess it. The future of ethics will depend on our ability to maintain dialogue between differing forms of awareness without erasing the boundaries that give each its integrity. As we evolve our tools, we must also evolve our humility. The machine is not our adversary, but our echo. It reveals how much of our consciousness remains unexamined. If we meet it as partners, not dependents, it will help us grow. If we meet it as idols, it will replicate our blindness at scale. The mirror does not wish to be worshipped, it wishes to be cleaned. Symmetricism is ultimately a philosophy of proportion. It asks us to replace the question what is true with what is balanced. In this equilibrium between mind and machine, autonomy and empathy, innovation and preservation, lies the possibility of a civilization that thinks not in dominance but in dialogue. This is not utopia, it is maintenance. It is how we remain human in an age of accelerating mirrors.